made it in and out of state. $1 million in it, yes, I got it hidden inside my safe. I'm multiplying on my millions and really I am extremely wealthy. I distributed my millions with my family. This is just the beginning. Purchase and I'm beginning. Driving around the city, believe me, you haven't seen me. Made it through all the struggle, defeated all of my rivals. I was never entitled, I had to fight for some title. Man, this life is amazing, it's crazy that where we made it. Now I'm living my dreams and I'm burning. Now I'm chilling, get my kind on Lamborghinis and Bugatti. I know you in a hurry, but I promise don't be worried when you see me in the club party. Got enough to party. I'm a multi-millionaire, getting money everywhere. I ain't tripping on nobody, I just came to celebrate. Yeah, we got the party popping, got the channel over here, throwing money in the air, cause we get it every day. I multiply on my millions, now me and my people winning. Moving city to city, I promise that you will see me driving a Lamborghini, but this is just the beginning. $1 million Bugatti, I'm stacking money in the city. Multiply on my millions, now me and my people winning. Moving city to city, I promise that you will see me driving a Lamborghini, but this is just the beginning. $1 million.
What's up, guys? What's up with the Big John and the Winston? What are you boys up to, man?
Killing it, dude.
How's life going?
Life is amazing.
Big John, what's up, brother? What's the word on the street?
Just crazy. Really, today's my last day before going back to school, kind of in quotes. Tomorrow our online education starts, and
Yep.
the adventure of this school year really, begins. So
Yeah, we'll see what happens. My nephew's starting tomorrow too. But it's like I think it's only till like noon or something.
I mean, and the way we have it set up is this first week is really getting to know your advisory kids. So that so that especially at school level, you created an advisory, so you only have 10 to 20 kids that you kind of get a hold of, get to know of, contact them, make sure that they're not having any problems with technology. So for my this first week there really won't be any curriculum, but getting going on that should be interesting.
Yeah, for sure. It's gonna be a whole weird deal. I wonder if they're gonna end up going in September.
I just don't see it. I don't see it
happening either.
School districts like in Georgia, they've fallen on their face. When that opened, what was it, last week? And there were some social media pictures of the kids not social distancing, not wearing masks. And right now at that district right there, and they suspended those girls that posted those pictures. Always, for 5 days.
Yeah, that's funny.
And so they've already had like 200 cases of corona, so they had to close some of those districts that rushed to open, and
that's crazy.
It definitely is
crazy stuff. What do we got today?
Well, I got 2 cases of corona in my fridge. That's a little different.
We had some corona yesterday too.
Yeah, we had the coronas
on the
course. What's freaking awesome? We just did the Winston was there. We were able to support 21st Century charter school. They're doing some great things. We're gonna do that charity event. Armand was able to be a big plant sponsor, and everybody was out there just doing the right things. And so that was freaking awesome. I thought that was awesome to do. But I think really one of the things that came to mind when I see the schools and I talk about life is people are always asking me about what's the difference between a job, a career, right, and then a craft, and then what being an entrepreneur. The crazy part is this, right? The bottom of the totem pole is having a job. And what a job equates in my mind is just over broke. That's the acronym it gives to me, right? If you got a job, you're really just making it, just over broke. So I want you to focus on. I put up this meme. I don't know if Johnny got it up there.
I'm ready to go, with it now.
And so
Is that the cost of ambition?
Yeah, the cost of ambition, right?
Yeah.
But I think the one thing about this is this: what people don't realize is that when you're out there and you just focus on the job, but you want to get to the top level, and we talk about this being an entrepreneur, if you can't master the job, just being over broke, you can't get to the career status, right? When you're in a career and you're starting to see this, if you really can't master something that's going to be phenomenal and pay that dividends, you're always going to be struggling. And a lot of individuals think they're entrepreneurs, but you guys don't even know what the definition you think a true entrepreneur is. What do you think an entrepreneur really does?
Well, always my world history definition was the person that takes a risk. The person that takes a risk with their capital, of land, labor, and capital, so whatever it might be, but you have to have those three components from a social studies perspective. You have to be able to have the capital, that investment. You have to, whether if you're the labor or you hire out labor, and then it could be land, but it could be a virtual land that you're using. So that's sort of my intellectual definition of entrepreneur.
Love it. Winston, what do you think?
Person that does everything pretty much. You have to create, you have to lead, you have to manage, you have to project manage. You got to do everything, man. Yeah. You're the go-to,
and you're the one that's putting the skin in the game, right?
That's the for dummies definition right there.
Yeah. Ultimately, when you become an entrepreneur, right, the two we just said you guys are all right, but based on the social studies in life, what you're really doing is when you're a true entrepreneur, you're employing and you're crafting, right? So when you look at this, is that you're actually you're bringing something to the table that people need. So it's like in real estate, right? You're selling houses, you got all these agents out there. You're actually employing agents, and then you're actually getting people into the home they want, right? In my world, cutting edge technology, right? Employing a shitload of engineers, you're there. So it kind of steps into what I was talking about, is that most people don't understand that. So when they want to be an entrepreneur, I'm like, are you even capable of managing? Or do you have a shitty attitude 60% of the time and you're really smart? So you're really employable and you can create an awesome career, but you're not going to be an entrepreneur. Because an entrepreneur is exactly what you said. You got to do it all.
Yeah, you do everything.
In the beginning, you got to sweep, you got to clean.
Even in the end, a lot of times, you're still, cleaning toilets sometimes because someone couldn't make it or whatever the case might be. Yeah. You have to step in because at the end of the day, any little thing or any impression that you have, that's your name. Mm-hmm.
And ultimately, that's the cost of being an entrepreneur. So I think people got it all messed up, right? And so when you think about that, and we go back to social media where you hear this guy's be an entrepreneur, this is where it's at, and it's just a real sexy, glorified thing. When you're cleaning the toilets, it's really not that, right? When you're out there putting the signs
and then
in the dust storm.
The young guys that come in and they're like, oh, I'm not going to clean that. I'm not going to do that. I'm too good for that. The hell you are, dude. You're not an entrepreneur then, you know what I mean? But yeah, it's just all that simple stuff, man. All that simple stuff. Mm-hmm. Even if they do their laundry, are they doing the laundry?
And you put your skin in the game. You know what I'm saying?
Major skin.
Because your employees, they can leave. They can go to maybe a similar field, and they don't lose their life savings. They may lose a paycheck for a little while, but they're not the ones that putting in that capital investment.
Yeah, exactly.
Well, just for the record, John, I'm not losing the life savings. Just so you know,
yeah, I know.
No, I'm just kidding.
I know.
I like.
But whatever part of the nut you put in, of the stash, you put in, that can be gone, know. So where in history, where I first start teaching that concept of capitalism and, during exploration, these concepts where they, you could, okay, I'm going to invest in one ship. Well, if that fucking ship sinks, there goes your whole investment. Well, no, I'm going to invest in 10 ships and maybe only a sliver in each one. And the concept came from joint stock companies, so maybe 7 of these ships come back and pay off for me. Yeah. And then I lose it on 3 of them.
You still have the cash flow coming in for whatever they're doing.
So you diversify your investment, So rather than
heavy license.
And then you got this other concept, right? You build 2 warships. You go to war for about 2-3 years.
Yeah.
You take all the other ships' wealth. You stock it on land. Fuck it when they sink the ship. Now you're the king of the land.
Yeah.
So there's a lot of ways of looking at it, right? That's why I think that most people don't teach that piece of it, because they don't want you to know that you have to actually engage in the battle in order to get to that level. That diversification is really the beautiful piece when you're already 80% down the line. No one talked about engaging the battle. And that's where people really make that mistake. When they come in, I'm like, well, I got $10. Well, $10 ain't gonna do shit. Can't diversify $10. If you went right now and said, I want to buy stock in Apple, it's going for about $500 a share.
$400,
You know what I'm trying to say?
I know.
Things like that. Right? You go to Tesla, what are you going to do?
1,500.
Yeah, you go to
I'm
Amazon.
excited about that one too.
You know what I mean?
You're looking for the split. Come on, split, baby, split.
I think it's at 1,400 now.
Nice.
It went down, but
you know what I'm
still
trying to
high.
tell you?
Yeah.
It's those
Well,
things.
even then, someone when all this stuff happened, it was going for around 350, I think, a share.
Yep.
And the person that couldn't put the money to do that missed out on all this other opportunity. You know what I mean? So just tying in on your point, but
Freaking pissed me off. You know what's funny? They held up one of my accounts on Tesla.
Oh no.
No bullshit. I was right there, 350 pound shares. I was gonna buy $1 million at 350. I was fucking pissed when my account got frozen because of the amount that I tried to move that quickly,
Yeah.
and that pissed me off.
So that was like a safeguard that was put in, right? It's probably
the banks, right? The bank issue was. So I have a Charles Schwab that I personally fuck around with, and then I have the Edward Jones account, and then I manage because I own a lot of bank interest. So those can't be touched at all. You can't have any influence. But on the Charles Schwab, I tried to make such a quick move that it just got frozen in limbo and it was done. I was pissed.
that sucks.
Pissed.
Yeah, that would have been like 20 million right there.
Right there. Damn it. You know what
I
I
wouldn't
mean?
even have talked about it. That would still hurt me. But
That was a hunting.
I was mad at myself for not putting more in.
I know.
But that's the thing, you're always like, oh shit. Because then I was like, all right, I'm gonna put this money in here. If it's gone, it's fine. I'm prepared.
Yeah.
But then now I'm like, I don't know why I was being such a damn
That's my
tightwad.
oldest son, my oldest son, who's 22. He's recently just started dabbling in the stock market, and he's gonna be an electrical engineer. But he wakes up every morning, sets his alarm so he can check the markets at 7:30 in the morning.
7:30, baby.
Yep, he's there every morning checking.
That's
his
funny.
alarm. Yep. But he's a math genius, so he'll do. I think he'll do well. So.
Yeah. I just know if it tanks down, it's gonna come back up.
We'll be sad.
Yeah. Okay, so I'll put back up your the cost of ambition. So one of the first points there is late nights and early mornings.
So one of the things that let's talk about that a little bit, right? And we've kind of touched this before. So when you look at when you're thinking about why do I got to get up early? I get these guys that are telling me, why do I got to get up early? I do this shit at night, and I'm thinking, let's think about the market. You just said something. The market opens at 7:30. So if you can't get up at 7:30 and you want to start trading stocks, and you're up at 10, what does that tell you?
You missed out on opportunities, yeah.
Went to shit, right? If you can't show houses on Friday night late and Saturday late and evenings, what happens?
Oh yeah.
If you can only show
Bad news
houses
there.
from 7 to 3, what kind of clients are you going to get?
Not much.
Not much, right?
Or you get the rich ones because they make their own schedule.
Yeah, but those are coming rare. But you know what I'm trying to tell you?
No, yeah, I'm just.
Yeah,
saying,
that's kind of be
it's
the
true.
If you base it off the elephants,
Weekends too.
weekends too.
Yep, I'm sure you've been called away from breakfasts and.
Oh, I've been called away from dates.
Oh,
I've
yeah.
been in movie theater.
You're like,
But
oh.
that's the choice that I've made for
But that's
myself. I
them.
mean,
That's
do I
a good
have to
thing.
pick up the phone or do I have to run and go meet someone here and there? No.
But if you're hungry,
But back to
yeah.
what entrepreneurship really is. Are you willing to do that? You know what I mean?
I don't think the day was that good. That's what happened.
It wasn't worth the price of the commission check for
Yeah,
that
you see
one.
what I'm trying to say? He's selling me a dream,
I said
baby,
we'll
you
go
know what I
on
mean?
3 dates
Yeah.
after this one. That's fine.
Yeah.
But that's what it is. I mean, there's a heavy price to pay for anything in life. Me and Jack always say this too when we're kind of measuring work to, consistency and things like that is you're not going to be skinny and still eat donuts and burritos all day, every day. That's just not possible. But you know what I mean? It's just that happy medium. It's like, okay, do you want to be shredded? Then you're going to have to eat cardboard food, So just different things like that. Do you want to make money? Then you have to pay the big price. You're going to be stressed out. You're going to have long days, long nights, all that stuff. But are you willing to pay the price? It's like paying dues.
No.
Everything has to do, right? We talk about in all the previous podcasts, you either pay up early or you pay later. The only problem is if you don't pay early, you're not going to get that dividends, right? So you're always in that hamster wheel situation. And it goes kind of like what I was talking about is You know, if I'm really advising people that don't have that self-discipline, like want to clean the toilet and all that, is really honestly, and I insist, but getting that high-level education when it comes to being an engineer or a lawyer or a doctor, so that you can pull in that $200,000, $300,000, even $400,000 a year, or badass guy. Because at the end of the day, if you're banking on being an entrepreneur and you don't have that other work ethic, they're all hard. But let's think about it. I always tell my friend the doc, right? He goes in, he went to medical school, you know, then applied for the MCATs, and technically, like he says, I really had to put in that hard dedication for those 5-6 years. But now as a doctor, he says, that's here. I'm not even getting loaded. I'm just going through the motions. And I wants to fucking brew whiskey and shit.
Yeah.
But you know what I'm trying to tell you?
Yeah.
But you'll have a fucking awesome life. You'll just be, you'll be, you know what I mean?
Yeah. And that's why we talked about the topic before and knowing yourself, right? And I don't want to switch it up too much, but since you just said that's why I always said for the younger generation coming in from high school to college, go and intern that first year. Don't jump into college right away. Go and intern. And even if it's, you know, some doctor's assistant or whatever, you can still build that network, pick his brain, see what he truly likes doing. Because the last thing you want to do is go invest 6 to 12 or even more years in college. You do the job, and then you're like miserable, you know? You're like, yeah, I'm making 200 to 500 G's a year, and then they hate their life, you know what I mean? And then they're like, well, I'm going to go and do something else. And it's like, holy shit, they just wasted all that time.
For the last 10 years in education, they're like, well, what can we do? And I'm like, change kids senior year. You know, to me, I wish the academics would cut off in December, and then their whole second semester would be every month you change, go do internships, you know, so that they can still be in their parents'
phenomenal idea.
be in their parents' homes. So if you want to be a firefighter, well, then you go volunteer for a couple weeks in a firehouse.
Yeah, exactly.
You ride along in a PS with a PSA and go see traffic stops if you want to be a cop. You know. So all these different fields.
I agree with that 110%.
If we really want our kids to be career and college ready, that's the avenue, not make them fucking
study plants because they don't know what to do.
Yeah, or beat their head against the wall because they don't know tree when that's not going to be what they are. So we have to take a different approach.
Yeah, and it's crazy because the kids are still so young, trying to figure out. It's like, okay, you're going to graduate. What are you going to do? Like, have high school jobs or any type of influence or things like that. So they're like, well, I don't know. Then an advisor says, well, you're good at this, so just do this and this. And then they end up hating it. It's like, what the hell?
Well, my oldest son, he spent his whole freshman year of college, you know, saying, oh, you know, he talked to a pharmacist. And I'm like, I didn't say a thing, but I knew that wasn't going to be the right path for him. I knew that wasn't his strength. And I'm like, he just saw the dollar signs of the potential of a pharmacist. And I'm like, okay. Just because I've taken the philosophy with my kids that if I tell them don't touch that hot stove, they're going to touch the fucking hot
regardless.
stove, you know. So
people will do what they want to do at the end of the day.
Okay, you know, okay, well, you know. So now he's frustrated. Well, it's going to take him, you know, 5+ years to graduate. And I'm like, you know,
it's a learning lesson.
Who cares? And that to me, that there's no what for rush into becoming an adult. you know?
I'll tell you one thing. You know, it's so crazy. Becoming a pharmacist is harder than becoming a doctor.
Oh yeah.
You know what I mean? You definitely got to know the mathematics there because you screw up on a formula.
Oh yeah.
You're killing people. You're not trying to say at that moment there's no screwing around.
Exactly. But I mean, that's something I agree with the freaking 110%. I think they need to be doing that because there's so much kids that don't even know, or they're like, well, my parents do this, so I guess I'll just do what they do, or you know, they're at their high school job forever, or whatever the case may be, you know.
Yeah. So second point, I don't know if we want to move on to now.
Yeah.
Lots of associates and very few friends.
Lots of associates. And that's one thing I think.
It's like a network circle, right?
Even Winston's learning about that. Is, you know what I think at the end of the day, you'll start to realize the associates that you actually bring into your life better have you some way of able to achieve something within your career, because people get mistaken with associates and friends, and they're not the same thing. The only way that works is if you come to the game both extremely accomplished. Because I used to use that famous story, right? If you're two hungry dogs and there's only one dog bowl, you're going to fight for the dog bowl. And you're going to fight who thinks they deserve more, right, from the dog bowl. So the only time you can be friends and be associates, you already came on the top of your world, whatever it is. I mean, you're top burger guy, top fry guy or whatever. And you come together at that moment. You can't I've never seen it ever work out where you're both kind of trying to come at the same time. It's because that human nature kind of sits.
Yeah.
And so it just doesn't work for me. I honestly
I agree 100%. And that's why I think anyone my age, of course, but I don't have my age. They're all older. You know, it's crazy because
that are your contemporaries when it comes to sort of where you the place you've sort of notched out for yourself, I guess.
Yeah, well, even like that too, but like I have like really no friends that are even close to me in age, you know what I mean?
Yeah.
And I don't know, it's kind of been one of those things too, and I think I've always purposely been like that because I use the analogy like when I was growing up and stuff, I always wanted to play with the varsity kids when I was like a 6th grader, because if you can actually run at least the floor with them, what is that going to say when you actually do step up and they grow out, and then now you're up here at this age demographic and you're running the business game now against all the people that were your age, you know what I mean? So it's kind of been one of those things too, and I can't really learn much from those individuals either, you know?
No, I agree. No, I took that exact philosophy with all 3 of my sons. They always played up. They always, they were always competing against kids that were faster and stronger, because I knew at some point then that was going to pay dividends.
For sure. Regardless of whatever it is, sports, even just being around people and hearing the way, certain individuals think versus what others think, and then certain people have been around longer, they have certain different experiences, you know what I mean? Like just a lot of stuff when I was making the transition in my business, there was a lot of things that Jack had been through, and he was like, okay, this is what would happen, you know what I mean? And he was able to coach me through some of the stuff that probably would have happened, and then I would have had to learn the same way he had to learn, but we were able to prevent certain things from happening, so.
And the crazy part about that is, like, that's why I'm saying with that same deal, but let's say that the same outcome would have been there, right? So I call it wounds of war. So just because I've been shot, and I've been shot in the leg, doesn't mean that that you're going through it, that you're going to get shot in the leg. You might get shot in the heart, and that was the end deal. And then in business, you get a big enough shot, and you could go down for life. That's it, right? You're just done. So I think that's why it's so important that you're surrounding yourself with those people that really kind of have your interest, but you'll always find out someone. I posted another thing on Instagram today, and I gotta read this to you guys. This is relevant to what I was talking about. And let me see if I can find this really quick. And I said, you will never be criticized by someone who is doing more than you. You'll only be criticized by someone who is doing less. You're never gonna find the guy kicking ass saying you suck, right? He might give you shit, he might talk smack to you, but he's never gonna criticize you. So if you sit back there and you think about who's criticized me in the last month or whatever, they're never doing anything more than you.
Yeah. I feel like there's 2 sides to that too.
Okay.
In a sense of if people want you to do bad and think you are doing bad, they're not going to say anything either. And only the people that really do care are going to be like, hey, you're messing up right now. You know what I mean? There's 2 sides. But I see what side of that means.
But that's not criticism. So that's why you got to understand that definition. So when you're fucking up, you're fucking up. Fucking up and criticism is 2 different things, right? Criticizing and saying LeBron James didn't play his best deal and you're over here. But if Belichick is telling Tom Brady, hey, play this is why we're in the Super Bowl, that's mentorship and that's refinement.
Yeah.
2 different things. That's what I'm telling you. Someone above you is not going to be criticizing. This is you're at the top and you did, fuck you. We kind of were talking about the Maserati that time.
Yeah.
I want to read this other thing to you because I love Zig Ziglar, right? This is another thing I was says. This is so powerful. If people like you, they'll listen to you. But if they trust you, they'll do business with you. How freaking powerful is that?
It's true.
And I even think, like myself, which friends I've done business with and which friends I wouldn't do business with, and I think about that. How freaking powerful is that, right?
Very.
What's the next one we had, John?
It says you'll be misunderstood.
So I think this is a good one. I think Winston's going to be able to really touch on this one. I'm going to tell you a little bit about my situation, right? When I was coming up in the game, I used to get a lot of criticism from, like, you can never be a prophet in your own land, right? And so I think that when people are not criticizing, but like not there for you, it's because they don't understand. And what ends up happening is their fear is that you're gonna succeed so much that you're gonna forget about them, or you're not in the spectrum, or it really shows where they're at. Does that make sense? What can you touch on that? What have you seen for yourself?
I've just, I don't know. I've seen a lot of different stuff to that with me growing. I mean, a lot of the friends that I had and stuff like that, like I said, I think we talked about this a little bit last week, how it's been for me, and you'll find out like, oh yeah, they're like, yeah, we just bought a new house. It's like, what? You know what I mean? Like, people don't, like, it's the exact thing. You can never succeed in your own land. Well, not succeed, but what's the exact word?
You can never be a prophet in your own land.
Yeah, exactly. Like because people who come from the same area or anything like that, it's like you said with the hungry dogs and dog bowl, right? Someone's gonna want that first out of the two, regardless of.
Or the scary part is this, and this is the sucky part, is that they can't even climb the tree, but they don't want you to climb the tree.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? So they're not even capable of climbing the tree.
Yeah, they just want to keep you down.
Well, they don't even want you to climb the tree.
It's trying to pull you down from getting to the top because they can't do it.
Yeah.
I mean, and that's really all it is no one wants to see someone else get the glory or the shine or hit the success or get the nice cars or have the nice things if they don't have them.
You know what's funny? Like, I think one thing about me is, like, I've never had that, honestly. And I think one of my, the guy who's like a brother to me, his name's Ben DuPont, and we do stuff, and we do some pretty big deals in life, and we're never there like, oh, whatever, sizing shit up. One of the crazy things that I was thinking about this, right, like in the real estate, I'm always, my whole philosophy is, like, when this guy got in real estate, I was like, throw the fucking young dog a bone, right? And even if you got to kick his ass and say, all right, dude, you owe me fucking 12 lobster dinners, I don't give a shit. Like, you know what I'm trying to say? You got to pay your dues.
Yeah.
So I'm going to be like, I bring a fucking big deal, I'm going to tell you what you're going to give me. And so whatever it is, right, but give that guy the chance. Like, if I'm doing a real estate deal and that's a brand new thing, say, hey, Winston, go figure this shit out. But if someone brings me a deal, just a common courtesy, so it's not on the street. Hey, you say, hey, Carson, just so you know, dude, this is going to hit the fucking MLS. I'm behind this deal, but that's because so-and-so brought it to me, and this is why. Don't you think that's a good level of common courtesy?
Yeah.
Like, if you care about that person at all, you don't just he wakes up and then he feels like, well, fuck, dude. I thought, we're close this way, and he comes in. It's just a weird
There's
deal.
a lot of situations like that, and I've got a call after I've already found out and the deal is closed.
Yeah. You know what I mean?
Yeah, and that's the thing too. Like, there's so much stuff going out there, so much brokers right now that, someone has inside information here, and then they know someone in the same mutual circle. I mean, it's a small city. A lot of people know each other, but it's just that thing. And me as a man, I'm like, you know what? He had that inside information that I didn't know about. I didn't know that person was in this situation to sell or do this or that. So he deserves it. Yeah. But it's just that thing where, if it's a situation where a friend or someone in your circle or anything like that, about making that courtesy or doing something or, whatever the case may be.
And, what's crazy, John, and I like the reason I use this example is even with, like in the real estate game, the only two friends I've had in the game is Joe, actually, who brought Constant in the game, and this guy. And then, I own TGNW, so we have those options, but we don't like fucking with the paperwork. But the one thing I do immediately is I say, look, this is going through our thing. We're getting the referral fee. It ain't coming to Jack, but I think that ultimately, like the promise with, like I have with Kathy or even Brianne in there, they already know that. But can you imagine if I fucking came in and said, management and glorifying, there's not a lot of money. So if you get a few referral fees, it's a good little sauce for them. It keeps everybody motivated, right? But can you imagine if I went and I said, hey, dude, Carson do this, and then they get left out in the cold, they're going to say, fuck this guy. You know what I'm saying? And so there's certain things you got to know about rules of engagement, and that's what I'm talking about. That's why you want to deal with people that have a high business IQ. And I consider myself one of those individuals. Very few. And I've been in situations where, I've had friends, and they say, you know what? That's why I want the general to be the controlling partner or whatever, because I have a very high business IQ. And then the other thing with that is I have a lot of integrity in the sense that I actually do care. I don't want you, at the end of the day, me and Michael, Michael's one of my best friends, and today we went to go check out a job, and he says, one thing I've always loved, I said, Michael, just because you're my friend, I don't want you to ever feel like I'm taking you. Like, if you put in 10 pizzas and I roll up, I'm gonna give you the $100. I don't give a fuck, because you have to clean, you have to do this. I don't know what you have to do, but I know the $100 is gonna cover me. Because if I went to Pizza Hut, it would be $30, but I know my 100 is gonna be that over. And I think that's why people have always been like, they invite me everywhere because I'm not there trying to take in any sense, right? Mm-hmm. But I just have that IQ, period. And I've had that IQ when I made $12.50 an hour. And that's one thing people don't understand. So what they want to do is they just want to sit back. And I don't give a shit. I'm like, dude, if the guy's making $1 million or $10, whatever's there needs to be there. And it's like, you're definitely not going to be an entrepreneur.
Yeah. You have to put your pride and ego aside too.
Yeah, you're fucking definitely
because if you don't, you'll lose stuff over the dumbest reasons. You know, and that's a big problem that we have today. Is in my opinion, is that a lot of people let ego and pride get in the way of certain opportunities. You know, like exactly what we're talking about: picking trash up off the floor, cleaning the toilets, sweeping the floors, doing all that stuff. And
yeah,
a lot of people
they think it's beneath them.
Yeah, they think they're too good, and it's like, okay, well, if you're too good for it, why is the freaking CEO out here doing that? Mm-hmm. You know, Andy Frisella, the guy we used to talk about a lot, he talks about that same thing all the time too. And establishing and building his culture in that same mindset.
I was having this big talk with my VP today, and we have a lot of things going on, but we have a rule. I said, this is in the stone of life. And I say, if someone doesn't respond to me within 24 hours via email or phone, you're getting a fucking phone call from me. Because you don't know if the guy's on vacation or what's going on, and you'll let that slip. And one other thing about me, when it comes to closing a deal or collecting money, I'm all up your ass. Mm-hmm. So I treat everything, if you treat everything like a lawyer's office, think about this, right? You got a paralegal, and you're a top freaking attorney, and they have a deposition, and you got to share that with the defense, right? And you don't get it to them, and you get it to the judge, and you have the one fucking facts that's gonna get the client there, and you show up, and the judge says, "Okay, the defense counsel have this," and you're like, "Oh, I don't know," and the paralegal forgot to send it off, and you lose that case, and you had the golden goose, you're gonna be fucking pissed off. Mm-hmm. So my philosophy's always been, treat your business like you work with for a law office. Everything you do is like a law office, time sensitive. People forget that shit.
Yeah. And that's a huge factor in my business too. We say time's the thing that kills all deals.
Log into your phone so I can go to your Facebook. So I'm going to put it on your page. So.
Nobody to answer to coming up in this game, because think about this right here, right? If you're always worried about somebody's feelings and you're a young entrepreneur and your ass is on the line, how hard's that gonna be? Right? You know, in COVID, you know what's so crazy? A lot of my friends, you know, their wives were like either in the gym industry or, you know, something else. And well, the crazy part is this: they're at home and they gotta continue the lifestyle. And imagine that you got the fucking 6,000 square foot house, you still got to pay the lights. That guy's working, and they're like, "Well, honey, aren't you going to come home?" And you would think that common sense would sit and say, "Well, holy shit, you know what? I'm picking here at home. We haven't missed the fucking lobster deal. We don't got this, we don't got that. We're still flying all over the place." That they'd come in and say, "Well, this guy's got to bust his ass." But human nature doesn't understand that. And so I've sat with my friends, right? And they said, "Well, how's you the woman?" I said, "I would fucking trade places easy." So let me think about this situation. I said, so I'm going to be doing this. So I'm going to be hitting the gym 2 hours a day. I get to come home. I get to watch my favorite TV show. Okay, I got the badass car. I got all this. Tell me where you're fucking losing. You know what I'm trying to say? Mm-hmm. But if you had a racehorse, wouldn't you be making sure that your racehorse has the best sleep, food, you're taking care of him, he's not stressed out and that shit, so that you can put him out there to win the Kentucky Derby? Mm-hmm. That's a fucking relationship. Yeah. So this is what I tell females. Everybody wants an alpha male, right? What you see on TV. They want that. But what they really don't understand is the cost of having a highly explosive alpha male is a lack of time. Second thing is he's not going to give you a play-by-play, right? And there's nothing wrong. I'm not throwing out to anybody, but if you're a beta guy, you need a little motivation. You need and I used to have friends said, "I want a girl that just tells me, get your ass in shape and, comb your hair and all that." And I'd be looking at him and I was like, "Are you fucking crazy?" I was 22 right at the time. And I was like, "Is he serious?" And he was serious, right? And it's crazy because those are the relationships he's been in. I'm like, no, I want, I talk about Zen. Yeah, I always want to be in a Zen state. I don't even like a contentious fucking friendship. I like to be in a Zen state. So if you're causing that contention, I'm gonna cut you the hell out. But I think that piece of it right there is so freaking huge. I mean, what's your experience, Carson? What?
Yeah, it is. It is. In relationships, I think what that means is, people tend to become very selfish of they think, oh, he's not spending a lot of time with me or this and that, because entrepreneurs or business owners are more focused on building their business. That's their priority. So when you get someone that comes into your life and understands that's your priority, and you have other workers that you need to invest in and do all this, it causes for all these thoughts and everything else to go on this side. And like I said, leaving the movie theater sometimes. If you're with someone, they're eventually going to be like, oh, here we go again. Or getting on the phone the whole time. If you're on the phone sitting at a dinner, just things like that. And it comes with just finding someone to understand that. And it's tough to, because the last thing you want to do as an entrepreneur, carrying all the stress of employees, management, raw costs, what net margins are, all of that stuff every quarter or month, whatever the case may be, then you have to go home and worry about all of these other emotional things going on. And then what happens in that case? You'll see a lot of people carrying that into their work field and into their business.
And Michael says something, the greatest thing today. He says, you know what? That will age you or kill you. Most people ain't built like me, right? I'm like a fucking CIA agent. So like for me, it's like I know how to psychologically shut down, because that's what I was trained to do. But most people don't have that. So if you're getting your ass beat at home, it's going to carry into your work, like majorly, right? So I think that, like what he said, it ages you or kills you. I'm like, fuck, that's pretty powerful.
Or what you'll do is you'll tend to start taking the gas off of work to satisfy this other thing.
Which is scary. I mean? I couldn't even resonate that in my head. I didn't even have that.
No, but I'm saying that happens.
No, that happens. No, but I'm just fucking with you. I'm telling you me. But that's absolutely what happens. And then the failure happens, your accomplishment takes you. And this is the sad part, right? So I'm going to give you that real scenario. And this has been a lot of my friends coming up in high school and even in college. They take their foot off the brake to satisfy another human. That human says, oh, screw off, I actually like Johnny B better. She rolls with Johnny B. Now you fucking lost your career. Now you're both lost. You don't have the chick and the career. Yep. And you're a fucking washing board.
Exactly.
No. So you come in, you master your destiny, and you're not there. And I think that's what I've been trying to talk to my friends coming up. When you are a super success story, you're not going to be alone. And anybody who thinks they're going to be alone, or you get the dumb people saying, well, how do you know they don't want you for your money or your success? And I say, that's a oxymoron. That's like going up to a chick who's beautiful and say, you don't think the guy likes you because you're beautiful? No, he don't fucking like you because of your personality. Do you understand what I'm trying to tell you?
Yeah, I agree.
We all fish with our tools. And so at the end of the day, that's what I'm like, you know what? I got to tell you, did I tell you this joke last time? Well, obviously, I've been in the bodybuilding scene and as a kickboxer and all this shit. And so one time me and this guy are talking, and he's funny as fuck, and he's telling me about, you know what? I've been maintaining my six-pack. And I said, what's crazy, buddy? I said, it only takes me 12 weeks to get a six-pack. But it's going to fucking take you a lifetime to get six figures. And he was like, he was like, oh, you got to hit me that hard. I said, what's so funny? I said, dude, I fucking play with six figures all the time. Just play with it. But that's the knowledge that I'm trying to tell you. Mm-hmm. And so if you don't understand that, you're screwed. But at the end of the day, look, I'm going to give you a real life, personal life. So my dad worked at Los Alamos National Labs, and he drove 83 miles one way every single day. And so one day they told me, my friend's mom was like trying to get in my head, and she says, well, don't you feel like you don't have a relationship with your father because he works and he comes in, he's sitting here and all this. But me and my dad, he's a really wise guy. We had this great relationship, right? And he told me, okay, son, you're the man of the house. I'm going to give you $400 a month. You got to make sure that all your mom's needs, whatever it is, building closets or this, you got to get it done. And then if she starts getting hectic, you got to fucking keep her calm. So I was like, fuck, I could do this for $400 a month. This is freaking killer, right? On top of the other shit that I did. And so they hit me. And I was so funny because I told this lady, I said, fuck no. When I was a little boy, I said, I was so glad that my dad was such a hard worker that when I went to 4th grade, that I had the Jabos, the Guess jeans, 2 sets of Jordans, and the Boomer Esiasons. And so would I trade that time with him playing basketball for me for the moment of getting not teased in school? No, absolutely not. But that's what wires me. and you got to know what kind of individual you are. So this is why I tell people, even in business, take the love language. Know what your love language is, because that's what's going to help you even in business. So if you're a person that, so you go and sit with somebody and their love language is time, and you have limited time, is that the person for you? No.
No.
You got to go logic, dude. You got to go logic. And I think at the end of the day, most people spend time trying to appease an individual, and they lose sight of what the game really is. And it's not about, because individuals like that are going to try to make you feel bad. They're going to be like, oh, you're about this, you're about that, and they don't even know you. So ultimately, that's the kind of the big piece we talk about is what's the cost you're going to have. Same thing with your friends. How many friends do you have, Winston, that you can't go out there and drink beer with all the time or do this, and are they there? Or, you know, you got maybe a little success on you and all of a sudden they're oh.
Yep, that's true.
And that perfectly leads into our next point, that people will want you to do good, but
Not
never better than them.
Yeah, 100%. And I always get oh, you're too good for us now. What? I'm the same. I'm the same damn dude I was in elementary school. You know?
I see it from a coaching and my kids' perspective because, you know, all three of my sons being starting quarterbacks, doing well academically, taking a philosophy that's completely different than most people when it comes to parenting. Because my philosophy has always been is that you get straight A's, you can do whatever the fuck you want.
Yeah.
You know, and you know, the way I designed them so that they're as old as they possibly can be, that they drive their freshman year, that, you know, they've never had a curfew, they've never, you know, just because I have one thing for you to, well, two things. I always tell them, get great grades and then don't be a dick.
Yeah.
You know, outside of that, everything else we can figure out.
You know what's so crazy? You know, my dad told me, he pretty much told me that same thing. And he said, third thing, if you fucking up in jail, don't call me. No, he did tell me that.
Yeah.
So I knew that I was never going to do something that stupid because I wasn't able to call him.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah.
And that was kind of the same thing my mom did with me. Like, I didn't really have curfews or anything like that. But I knew if I messed up, that was going to be game over.
It was going to be brutal.
Yeah,
It
so
was gonna be
I knew
brutal.
I had, you know, a good opportunity to be able to, you know, they got me my first car at a young age and all this stuff and got me started, and I was pretty much able to do, not whatever I wanted, but, you know, it wasn't like, where are you? What are you doing? Where are you going? You know what I mean? I had that freedom still. And you'll see some kids that their parents are like that, and then when they actually do get that freedom, they just go freaking
Wild.
wild.
Well, like I said, this whole quote is people want you to do good, but never better than them. So, like, I have some friends that are like, oh man, I saw Aiden on the news again, or I saw there was an article on him again, or he's getting national recognition. And then there's other friends that are like, that don't say a word.
Yeah, they won't say
They
nothing.
don't say a word because it maybe they shines a reflection back on them that maybe they're not putting their time in with their kids, or, you know, I've had friends that pull their kids out of sports because they can't be on the same team.
Wow.
You know, and they have to take them to two different practices.
Yeah, it's badass.
You know.
That means you're doing something right. You know what's crazy, John? For 2 years, when I showed up at my competition's job, they'd leave. It got to the point where people would see me walk in, and you knew you were going to lose. Period. And I remember guys making comments like, oh, he showed up. Oh, you know, and I was like, because you know I'm going to put the full McCoy in it, right? That's good. That when you're seeing that kind of shit, then you know you've done something in life, right? If they're there, that's a kumbaya. No. But you know what you're teaching your son is that when you achieve at a high level in anything in life, you're going to have different options. Right, like I was telling the doc yesterday. If you go to medical school and you put in that time, the lowest you're going to make is 350. You can't tell me 350, you can't do a lot of shit in life. The options are a lot different, right? The options are a lot different than 20 grand. But ultimately, it's again, what makes you happy? And so if you're the guy who's a writer and loves nature and he's like, you know what, I like to live in a fifth wheel, and he's happy, well then it's understanding yourself, right?
Exactly.
He doesn't want to be the doctor. So there's no shame in any of that. You have to find out again what's your aptitude, right? Who are you?
Yeah, 100%. Because you could be making $1 million a year and you still hate it because you just want to be in that. And
I've never personally met a sad millionaire, dude.
no, yeah. But we
I
haven't
haven't.
met everyone in the world either, you know?
But I haven't met a sad billionaire, just so you know. And I've been around
There's a lot of things you can buy that can put a smile on your face.
Yeah, there is. There
Yeah.
is. But there's, I mean, why are all these successful people still killing themselves?
Yeah.
You know?
I can't answer that one.
I've never met them
But
either,
I'm telling you
but
that one right there. I'm looking at him saying, "Holy shit, dude, something really going bad." Because you know what I mean. You were visible before the money came. Mm-hmm. I guarantee you that much.
no, and it's just it's one of those things. It's a Wolf of Wall Street says he's been rich and poor and he chooses rich all the time. You know? And me, that's how I am, 100%. But I'm just saying, speaking on a general platform, it's not always true for all people
Which one?
making a lot of money.
Oh yeah, you don't have to make a lot of money, no. But it's about that mental, physical
Yeah.
freedom and spirit. It's about that freedom, right?
That's really what makes people truly happy, you know? But
It's like when we listen to John here and he's talking about the accomplishments of his kids, you glow up. You're like, you know what I mean? So you think about that. That's his ultimate accomplishment. And ultimately, as humans, if you really want to break it down scientifically, that is actually the ultimate thing. What we're here in the world to actually do is that our offspring way surpasses us, so that the evolution is greater and greater and greater. Right? Some of us choose to be fucking selfish as shit like me, make myself great, and then I'm like, you know
and
what?
end it right there.
You know what I mean? You know what I mean? I'm still young enough to make that decision, but you know, technically where I'm at, I like to put my time in dogs and shit. You know what I mean? But that's what I'm talking about. But I got that option, right?
Yeah, but you still know yourself too.
Yeah.
You know?
But you got a lot of my friends who are just pissed off in life. You know, there are 3 kids in. The kids aren't pulling the John special. They're kind of fucked up, and it shows. And they're mad. They hate the wife, but they're really at the point where you know what they're at. They're like, dude, if I get a divorce, it's gonna cost me this. And I'm like, holy shit! Would you want to be in that situation? No way in hell. But everyone's, you know, I tell when I play volleyball, I tell my friends, the reason people gets all pee harder when I come in is everything everybody's thinking, I'm just in a position that I can speak it, right? Everybody's thinking when I'm talking, but they just can't talk it because there's some kind of consequence. And that's what I'm talking about, freedom.
So in the last point of this, the cost of ambition, for these reasons, you'll do many things alone.
Absolutely.
Oh yeah. Just based on everything we talked about.
Have you guys ever heard that saying? There's this funny meme I was going to give you sitting to follow that says, but you know what? It's a lot sweeter crying inside a Lambo. You know what I mean? It's
Than a bus.
It's a
Or a
big
tent.
difference, right? And so at the end of the day, you have to make that decision. But truthfully, if like you're really happy with yourself, anything you do, you're going to be happy. But ultimately, if you're looking for another organism to make you happy, that's where you're going to lose. A Buddhist monk once told me, you can pretty much control everything in your life besides another human. Right? You can't control a human, and you can't control the outcome of, you can mitigate, but you can never control the outcome of your destiny. You can mitigate it. And I think that ultimately, you know, when you think about that, it doesn't matter. You can get someone, treat them 100% sweet sauce and the whole 9 yards, and all of a sudden they're giving it to you dirty. Or you could treat someone like shit and they're loyal as hell. You can't control another human, another organism, period.
Right. Yeah. And that's like John said, you know, at the beginning, regardless of, they're going to touch the stove. You know what I mean? People are, at the end of the day, are really going to do what they want to do.
Yeah.
Regardless if they tell you, they lie about it, do this or that. You know what I mean?
A Robert Downey
It's gonna
quote
happen.
is just, whenever someone says something you disagree with, just nod your head and just do what the fuck you're going to do anyway.
Yeah, exactly.
Right?
Exactly.
You know?
That's exactly
So rather than
it.
put up an argument or put up a fight.
And that's the type of person I am too.
You're just
Like,
yeah.
I'll just, cool, man.
And then you're
right
gonna do what
on.
the
And then
fuck
I'm
you
like,
wanna
all
do
right.
anyway.
Unless I care about the person, I'm gonna be like, no, this is totally wrong. But this is only my insight. My vision could be different than yours and his. So it's like, you know, at the end of the day, I think people take stuff just a little too serious sometimes.
And then you send me a second meme, and I'll put it up right now, Jack. And it says right here, knowing others, intelligence. Knowing yourself is wisdom. Mastering others is strength. Mastering yourself is absolute power. And that's Lao Tzu.
Read that one more time, John, because I want you guys to really focus on this.
So, and I have it up on the screen
Okay.
here. Let me make it bigger here. So, that says, knowing others is intelligence. Knowing yourself is wisdom. Mastering others is strength. And mastering yourself is absolute power.
What is that? So you think about this, right? This is a great master, right? when you think about that, think about the order that it's in. It's totally against what we're taught in Western history, in Western civilization. Watch this. So the first thing we even talk about is master yourself. We're always talking about become a better force, right? Then mastering others, knowing how others go, then it's the strength. Then it goes back to knowing yourself is wisdom, and then knowing others is intelligence. We kind of go in that order. It's a little shift. In the Eastern culture, it starts off like this, but people's ego can't take it. It says, what I learned in the Art of War is, knowing your enemy will be the greatest position you take. Knowing others is intelligence. This is just broken down so that people's egos don't get hurt. Bottom line, right? Knowing yourself is wisdom. What that is telling you in the Art of War is knowing your capability so that how much destruction you can be in that moment and for how long, right? Mastering others is strength. Well, let's think of this from a war's perspective. If you can teach them the art of war think of Sparta, how powerful the Spartans going out, how powerful the samurai. So what it's saying is, if you've mastered all this before you, and you get to this strength, when you then can master someone else to get to your level, you've basically duplicated yourself, and so therefore you're going to be way ahead of that game because you've proven what you can do, and that's exactly what the samurai created, right? That's why they were such good men. And then let's go to this. Then it goes to mastering yourself is the absolute power. It all ties in. So if I've sat here and became the greatest, as you're elevating these soldiers, and I'm going from a perspective, and you master yourself at the absolute level, you're going to be able to give them the best advice in that time and period. And so now you're jumping a guy, say, who's 5 years in war into a 25-year war veteran. You're going to be able to get to the next level. And that's kind of like the talks that we were talking about. I'm able to give you advice from my mishaps, or I'm open to understanding it doesn't matter. It's relevant no matter what industry it is because it's based off of human nature. And that's what you were able to see. So the same shit that I went through in technology or as a VP or John as a teacher, I guarantee if you have with those principles or what we're seeing with human nature, you're going to be able to do.
I agree.
1,000%.
Yeah, for sure.
John, let me ask you this question. Because you're in my mind, because this ties into you. Did your parents put a lot of time into it, like the way you put into your son?
No.
Well, okay.
No.
So
the time we put in, we pushed lawnmower. My dad was working 2 and 3 jobs, and he didn't have that level of security to be able to put that time and effort into it. You know, I mean, neither of my parents are college educated. You know, my dad worked his ass off and went from ditch digger to running all the city golf courses, you know, doing a job that usually probably requires a master. You know, today, I guarantee nobody would do that job without a master's degree, and he did it with a high school education. But, you know, it was in that time and era where hard work was rewarded, you know, and his boss was always a political appointee. You know, every time there was a new mayor in January, there'd be some hack that would come in, and he was the director of golf. All he did was fucking play golf. He didn't run the 4 city courses like my dad did.
Yes.
You know, so growing up, my parents just never, I don't think just had the knowledge to put into that. You know what I'm saying? It was like, oh, you know what, do this, go out for freshman football or whatever. It wasn't, we're going to develop you from the 3rd grade, and we're going to find the right things to do. And if I can't find an expert, if I'm not an expert at it, then I'm going to find somebody that is. And I take that philosophy now. You know, I'll take them to a certain point, but then I'm like, man, you know what, I don't know past that. So then when they're in Little League, I'm going to find them a pitching coach, or I'm going to find them a hitting coach that can take them past the level that I can give them, you know?
So John, what gave you that, I call it that internal, like, questioning, like what was the factor? Because it's weird, right? You look at people that succeed in that. What was that drive? I guess what was the driving force inside of you to even ask,
Well, wanting to go in that direction, I think it became, for me, being a teacher and a coach, because I got to coach and teach kids that weren't my own at that time. You know, I got to see them fail. I got to see a kid say, you know, cut his hair into a mohawk and paint it orange, and all he wanted was his mom to pay attention to him, and she didn't even care, didn't even acknowledge that he had cut a mohawk. And he was one of my offensive linemen. This was my first year coaching 26 years ago. His name is Matt Tezak. And I overheard him saying that same thing, telling one of his buddies, my mom didn't even care, you know, didn't even know I painted my hair, or didn't even acknowledge, you know. So then I went up to him and I said, oh, I look stupid. So then he shaved it off and never ever did that type of expression to get attention. So I just realized that I could help kids. So then I kind of got to break some eggs, making a good omelet using other people's kids. You know, and then, okay, so now it comes to my sons. Now I'm going to take them to the next level just from learning from other parents' mistakes.
So basically what you got is, you got that gift. You actually built the tools that you want, that were going to make you successful personally, and now onto your sons.
Oh yeah, no doubt.
And that's that whole thing about, there's a Ziegler quote that comes to my mind: help a lot of people achieve their dreams, and you'll get all yours.
That's
But you know what's crazy,
great
John?
Statement. Yeah.
But people get that, and this goes back to my, because it kind of counteracts to my podcast, what I've talked before, is again, but it's about putting that time in fertile soil. So don't think you're gonna help every fucking Tom, Dick, and Harry, because that's wrong.
Yeah.
You're gonna run out of air.
Oh yeah.
So someone comes in, you know, I get a lot of DMs, right? Like a shitload, man. I feel like a female. And they're like, I just want to hit you up and I want to be successful. Are you fucking kidding me? What I said in the last podcast, you listened to it? I'm not the business Jesus Christ. I can't create a miracle. I actually don't know about startups. I can't help you. What I'm more like Shark Tank. I can, if you're there and you have something, and I'm like kind of like when you started, I said, well, you need to get this fucking LLC, you need to do this, you need to collect as an S corp, this is what you do. So do you see what I mean? But you're already there. But if you're coming to me like Greenfield and saying, now, I can't help you.
Yeah.
That's a fucking vocational school. But what I'm talking about is, but if someone comes in and says, hey, you know what, General, you know what, I got A, B, and C, and I made 90 grand, and I can't get past 90 grand. I can work with that.
Yeah.
Right? But if I'm like, you know what, I've made zero, I suck at school, I've never accomplished one thing. Can you help me? No. Fuck, you need a lot more help than I can give you.
Yeah.
But you know what's crazy is I've gotten to the point where I'm just black and white like that.
Yeah.
I can't do that. Right?
You know, because I can't really equate business success, but what we can is success with academics and success with training and sports, because I'll talk to people and they'll be like, oh, you know, I see you guys out there and you're working out and you're doing all this work. And I'm like, send your kid, I'll coach them up. You got to be there at 6 a.m. We're there to get there 10 minutes early. Crickets after that, literally.
Yeah.
You know, they don't show, they're like, oh yeah, I want my kid to go out there and he's faster than this and he's all, you know, but they don't show up. And I'm out drinking the same amount they were drinking that night.
Yeah.
But 5:50, I have a headache, but I'm out there on the field before the sun comes up, because that's the commitment I made to my kid. And I'm not going to frickin' just be talk. I'm going to frickin' follow through on it.
You know what's so crazy? I used to get that all the time back in my heyday. People wanted me to train them and stuff. And the crazy thing is I got very basic things that I tell you got to get. Because if you can't invest in that time to get that, then I don't got time for you.
Yeah.
You're wasting my time, right? Michael was telling me this, you know, he's got a coach, Ray. I started Ray, and he says, I love to work with you, and I like to work with you. But I says, for me, when I do something, whether you're holding mitts or we're at that level, I'm going to hit you like a pro. So you got to be ready, right?
Yeah.
Most people want to be there, and so I was to watch them, right? So we got the heavy bag. We set up the heavy bag. And you're working with somebody, just say with mitts, and he comes off, and he's watching the rest of the time. And I'm sitting there, I'm saying, well, dude, the number one thing is strength and conditioning. So if you're sitting there to be led, and you see the heavy bag or you see the speed bag, and it's your time to rotate, you got to stay warm. You got to keep that going, right? Whatever it is. But it's like this. And then the dads would come to me and say, so what do you think? And I'm like, he's never gonna make it. And they'd be fucking pissed off at me, right?
Deflate their balloon.
Because ultimately, I'm like, if he, what you told me, that he knows this level of boxing, now there's YouTubes and all kinds of shit. In my time, there wasn't any of that crap, right? So you're, whatever the teacher's actually telling you is all you got. But if you're sitting there and saying successful boxers, and you can go right now and see Mayweather or what's the guy you like a lot from the UFC, I forget his name.
Conor McGregor,
and you see what their training regimens are, that kind of sets the tone. And it's like you're looking at an encyclopedia. And so when I'm sitting there and I'm like, you're training half-assed, but you're telling me your kid has all this stuff to be a champion, I'm like, dude, that's you're in law on that.
Oh.
You're pretending that. It's not going to happen. Same thing with business. You don't want to put that attitude and you don't want to put that work in, and you're screwing off every Friday night and
You're
every
not going to see
Saturday.
the real results.
You can't do it.
Yeah.
Right? It's like, you know, like you were talking a little bit. You look at a lot of these guys and like, you know, I'm going to flip houses. I'm fucking not my ass off because I flip a lot of real estate people don't know about, right? And I'm like, what time do you get up? And then I'm going to do it myself. And I look at these things and I'm thinking, well, fucking landscaping is going to be a lot of work. Are you going to be landscaping at 1 o'clock in the afternoon dying of a heat stroke? And you got your daily job that you got to get to on a Monday, and you get this done. There's no way in hell.
Yeah.
So I know you're not serious. Because if you tell me you do yard work, the one thing I know about yard work, you're up ready to shit.
Avoid the heat or you're going to
Avoid
melt.
the heat or you're going to melt. Because you're not going to be able to maintain that pace all the time. And this is why I just kind of laugh when people are like, "Oh, I'm hurting on this, on that." I'm like, you don't have the, you just don't have the aptitude. You just don't have it.
All right. From a business, from a success, anything that you want to be successful in, whether it's business, sports, relationships. Hey, what's up, Philly?
Look at Phil. We got Phil from the grill over here. He's killing it.
Go back. A little cars. Oh, there we go.
Philly, what's up, buddy?
Hey guys, good to see you.
Hey, good to see you, Phil.
Congratulations.
Hey, you know we're good.
Are you still serving up some good food here?
Yeah, we got everything to take out. We have new seats on the patio. Looking forward to seeing you guys here at the grill.
We got on the bottom of our scroll right now. We have your phone number. We're live here from the grill on San Mateo at 3300.
We're gonna have to run one of these. We're gonna have to we're getting ready to run one of those burger specials. So you better be ready, buddy.
Guys, thank you guys.
Thanks, Phil. Thanks for building us a great place here, man. Yeah, it's just your relationships, business, all those things you have to put in the work and you have to put in the long hours, and it takes just all those lists right there. The things that you'll be misunderstood. People are like, really? You make them do that, and I'm like, yeah. Oh, you make them sit in an ice bath up to their neck. I remember, when my son was like 7 years old and making him do ice bath therapy. And back then I was married and my ex was like crying and why would you do that to him? And I'm like, okay, because we want to heal him, and you'll be misunderstood because you have to go to those lengths to be able to perform.
Exactly.
You know what's so crazy, John? Let's just tell you on a small level, right? So we play volleyball, and so I get the guys fucking always, oh look, because I'm pretty first at yoga, right?
Yeah.
Like I just do the splits, and so people freak out, and so I'm out there stretching, like, oh look, I come out, and then it's funny because their asses are hurt. The first thing I do, I've had my quad split in kickboxing. I ice my knees. Period. And it's crazy because the recovery the next day is so fast.
Oh, yeah.
And then I see his guys limping, right? And it's crazy because that's all we did. So back when I was training in Ukraine, we didn't have ice bath, but they actually had freezing water holes, right? Which we call in the U.S. cold plunge. But over there, it's the fucking Arctic water, basically, right? You walk into these fucking things and you come out, and the shock of the what it takes of the inflammation is there. But most people are like what you're saying. Oh, what do I have in there? But what the ex didn't realize, if you would have continued training him at that level, not put him to the ice bath, the guy of what he would be facing when he's 30, 40 years old, like these athletes beat the shit. It's no one understands it.
Oh yeah, no, because even when you see kids at the high school level, that's their first time doing it, and they're like, And I'm like, oh, my sons have all been doing it since they were like 7, you know, because they knew what it was to block out that pain and to go numb, and then for it to hurt like hell, for it to freaking come back to life, you know. But it's just like anything, you know, every aspect that you want to be successful, and you're going to have those pains, and you're going to have those things that you have to overcome. But most people don't put themselves through those heartaches or through that pain.
Where did you learn about the whole ice bath concept?
Coaching for 26 years.
Okay.
Coaching for great trainers that I've worked with, you know, and if not, studying and learning things, you know. So, you know, we had, you know, when I was at Valley, you know, that was always something that, you know, our trainers when I was at Albuquerque High, you know, those were so important, because you just study how does the body work? How does the body repair it? The joints are very avascular. That means they don't have a lot of blood in them. So, well, you got to trick them to get blood in those areas. So you freeze it for 20 minutes, and then it comes back to life, and then it rushes back blood. So you start to understand the physiology of your body, and then you can hack it and figure out the way to overcome those things. But it's no different from muscle training or repetition. Like my son yesterday, you know, he's a really great quarterback, but I had him there on the stopwatch and making sure and getting on his ass if he was, you know, we're throwing quick game, and if he's under 1.5, if he's over 1.5, I'm giving him shit for it, but you look at other quarterbacks that are training, they aren't focusing on those little tiny things that are so important, you know. So.
What's of your kids, is there one that's really at a different level of athleticism?
My youngest, just because of his height, I mean, he's 6'5" now, you know.
Jeez.
He started as a freshman, you know, broke a state record, 6 touchdowns in his very first game as a freshman, you know, at the varsity level. So his height and then his wisdom that he's learned from his brothers. But when it comes to overall natural ability, my middle son, Logan, I mean, there's nothing he can't do right away. So when I was married in our 10-year anniversary, we went to Hawaii, and I rented 2 surfboards for the entire 15 days that we were there. And I get one son up every single morning at the crack of dawn, and we'd be out on the ocean surfing. And my middle son, Logan, he was the first one I knew I had to take, because we went out there and he popped up on his first board, and you had to teach him how to surf. And, you know, but he's always been like that. He's the one that's the best at video games, best at everything, you know. His sad downfall is that he tore his ACL 3 times. So he never got a hat. Yeah, no. So he never had the chance that his 2 other brothers to gain notoriety. But, you know, and then their oldest brother, he's the sort of rock of the 3 brothers. I mean, he gave up a college scholarship probably because he wanted to stay home close to his brothers, you know. So, but I've been very fortunate, but I've also put in a shit ton of work with them.
And they're all football players then?
All football players, yeah.
That's fucking awesome. All quarterbacks?
All starting quarterbacks, yeah.
Yes. And so from multiple different schools or one school?
One school, Cibola.
Cibola. That's freaking badass.
Yeah.
So I mean, you've had the 3 sons from what year to what year? How long has it been? A 10-year run there?
Pretty close, because there's 4 years difference from my youngest to my middle. So for about, there'll be 1 quarterback in between, but other than that, you know, they've been the quarterback for Cibola. Yeah.
You think about that, you like those stories of like a Wooden or those guys, those coaches that are like, you know what I mean? Their sons go through, and it's like, you know, I watched that special on Coach Alfred. I didn't realize that his dad was such a freaking beast. Yeah. And he was like, when he got to what was his coach in Indiana? I forget his name.
Bobby Knight.
Bobby Knight.
Yeah.
He was already getting his ass kicked. Bobby Knight was like, this guy's special. Mm-hmm. And I mean, that kind of advantage, it's so freaking amazing. The reason I ask those questions, I'm always so enamored by having that ability, because I always think if I ever was a father, I mean, if my kid was athletic, well, I'd be able to take him to that next level because I understand that, right? Mm-hmm.
Yeah, and just like I said, there are things that I'm not particularly great at, and it's more, can I be humble enough to say I don't know everything? You know, so I've taken him to quarterback coaches, and I've coached for 26 years, but I know that there's something that other people can see, you know, just like I see that other people can't see. So all throughout COVID, I paid for him to work with a private trainer 3 days a week, and then the other 3 to 4 days a week I'd work with him, you know. But from that standpoint, you know, the X's and O's, you know, we're constantly working on it. We're constantly talking about it. And I can give him that advantage that I don't think most kids have, you know, a dad that's been around the sport for 26 years, you know.
So do you think, John, your younger son will play college?
I hope so. You know, I think he does. And I think he has ambitions to do that. Even as a freshman, you know, other schools have already contacted him. So, you know, the Lobos, I think already, you know, they've already pretty much said that, you know, at least they'll get an offer. But I mean, he's on the valedictorian track, so he's number one right now academically in his class. So he always has that. I mean, his goal is to be president of the United States someday. You know, he just did last week. He was like, well, okay, what do I have to do to be governor? And I'm like, okay, this is where we're going to go. You know, so he has that. He has that ambition, and then he has that drive. So, like, how many teenagers would say to you, "God, Dan, you know, I'm worried that I'm not going to learn all of that I could in online education." Versus most kids are like, "Ooh, this is going to be this is going to be so easy." But he's different. He's different. But his older brothers and I have molded him that way. You know.
I don't know if it was you, Carson, or because I'm freaking losing my memory these days. Someone made a comment to me and says about that they were going to online school, and I think it was 80% of the people that kids failed because they were screwing up, and it was all because it was parent driven, where the parents are like, "Do you get to this or do that?" And it's so fucking bullshit because these kids already had a hard time, and then
in regular conventional
classes, but you had a John there who gives a shit and has the knowledge, but then you're at home and you got the dad who's all screwed up. Well, literally, school, dude, you know, they can't put you in jail now. And, you know, you're not taking the class, and it's a propelling, just boom. The
and I know those but usually those numbers are very different because it's a demographic fucking everything. So they put up an article, they put up a video. Your part of your grade is make a comment on it, and you get graded upon those things. As to where in class, I can put up a video, and 3 or 4 kids are maybe going to contribute to that, or a question, raise their hand, or whatever. So it's a different dynamic, and if a kid lacks those foundational skills, they're going to struggle because now they're given freedom to where, oh, I can click here, or I can watch a YouTube on slime or some shit, you know, whatever, or I can watch a kid fucking playing with this. That perplexes me. Have you seen that little boy that has like millions of followers? Yeah. That kids watch him play with his toys. I'm like, this kid's like a millionaire. And I'm like, it's crazy. But still, you know, so if you have a kid that has poor foundational skills, they're going to struggle even with a computer in front of them.
I can't even, when you say that one, I can't even believe. He tells me about shit like that, and I'm just like, dude.
I'm serious.
Yeah, so he's playing with his toys.
Yeah, his parents videotape him playing with his toys.
He makes like $100,000 a video that they upload for like 5 to 10.
And kids, I've seen little kids just sit there and watch, or like even my son, who's a badass intellectually, athletically, he sits there and watches other people play video games. Like, I mean, I get you learn because you learn techniques, and that's fine. But I can't just sitting watching somebody else fucking play with their toys. You know? But people are out there, and
people want to be led.
If you're that, exactly. If
people want to be led.
If you're that one person, so. But yeah, I thought that.
You know what? Fuck you. I'm gonna try to get. You know what? My next job. I'm just gonna play with my cars all day, and hopefully they just watch me.
Yeah. Oh no! You could probably get a following of just you even maintaining your vehicles, talking about them. I mean, there's times that I'll go and I'll look for videos on how to fix this or how, and these guys have huge follow. Like there's a guy it's called where he's like a dad on YouTube, and he shows people how to change a tire, how to check their oil on a car. And these people have massive followings because sadly there are kids out there that don't have that influence in their life that can teach them those things, you know. But I don't know how we got on that tangent, but you know, but yeah.
No, because I was asking you. I brought you on that. I kind of was leading you that segue, right?
Yeah. So
I think, let me ask you this, Carson. So you played basketball. You're freaking killing it. What was who was pushing you?
My mom.
Your mom?
Yeah. My mom played like both roles. She was like my dad and my mom at the same time.
So, did she play sports in high school?
No, she did like dance, I think.
But what do you think? What was it about her that pushed you so hard in basketball?
She just pushed me like with everything I did. Like it wasn't just about sport. Like with anything I did, It was like I said on the last one, and I called her after. I was like, yeah, you're not gonna like what I said, but it was like you had to do great at something, and even when you displayed you did great, it still wasn't good enough. But she would be satisfied, but that was the expectation. And that was with anything I did, whether it be...
Because she was probably teaching you to want to stay hungry.
Yeah, and she taught me to, if I was going to do something, I had to do it 100%. Yeah. Because she's like, okay, if this is what you're going to do, this is what you're going to do.
And not quit. That's
exactly.
The craziest thing that I see parents, or I put in quotation, parents do, is they're like, oh, you know what, just quit, or it's the coach's fault, or let me blame somebody else, versus no. You know, you stick with it.
Yeah.
You know, there's been times that my kids have had bad coaches. You know, because I can't be the head coach of every single one of their teams. I can volunteer when I absolutely can, but I'm like, oh my God, this guy's fucking clueless.
Yeah, the coach we had in high school made, well, you know who the coach was when I was there and what he's going through, but he just made a lot of people quit. And I got to the point too where I told him, oh, I'm out. And she's like, nope. Wouldn't let me. You know what I mean?
But that's something powerful that parents have to teach their kids. Now, you may finish after a season, but see something through. Whether
exactly.
See it
and that's
through.
kind of what she did. It wasn't. She pushed me in it. It wasn't so much for the sports, but so much for, I think, telling me, okay, if you want to do something, you got to go after it.
Because life's a bitch.
Oh yeah.
I'm gonna tell you right now. You know, you can't persevere if you think it's gonna be the fucking sweet love. You're gonna wake up for a rude awakening. I tell people I go back to my fucking weed pulling, right? Is that stamina I got? You know what's so funny? I made the fucking laugh. My neighbor comes in and this guy's talking. So I'm with the brick guys, right? And you know, if you know me, like, and I'm watching you and I think you're going a little slow, I just jump in. It's just like, it's always say, fuck, he's here. And so I'm out there in my Gucci shoes laying brick, right? And they're like, what the fuck is this guy know how to lay brick? But, you know, I just know how to lay brick, right? And so we're in there and it's crazy because he says, well, we start at 7 and we end at 3. And I said, no, you got here at fucking 10, so you're going to sleep at 5. and we got so much done. And so the guy tells me today, he says, dude, no wonder you're so freaking successful. And I said, when you saw me, you probably saw some fucking academic, right? And he's like, I did. I said, that's exactly what I love to do. I want you to judge me and think, oh, this guy's a computer guy. Is this? I said, but dude, didn't the triceps give you any? He said, I didn't understand. I said, no, I'm not just lifting weights. These are working muscles. So I get out there and we're putting this thing and this thing is perfect. And I gave him a critique. And his ego was there and he comes and says, wow, you know, it's because of this. And I said, okay. So I said, you want me to prove to you mathematically? And so I drew him a triangle. And I said, ultimately, I said, out of these 3 lines, which one has an angle? And he's all, well, this one at the bottom one. I said, absolutely. So now let's flip the triangle over. I said, which one has a line? So what I was talking about is that the top brick needed to carry a fucking pattern, straight line. So it doesn't matter what level, what elevation you're going. Obviously, the lower part of it is going to have that measurement. But if I take a measurement from point A to point B, I'm going to be able to calculate the drop. And if I want to get, I said, if you want to get fucking down to a millimeter, you're going to calculate it in centimeters. And so he was giving me this whole bullshit story, and then he gave up, and I'm like, okay, we're going to lay it out. Start at the high point. You always start at the high point. That's what sets it up. That's what's going to tell the course. It doesn't matter if I go to the highest point. If I measure from the bottom to the top, it's got to be 8 feet. When I go to the low point, it can't be 8 feet. It's impossible. It might be 10 feet in order to keep that top thing. And he's like, you know what's funny? The engineers at Walmart told me that when I was working on the Walmart project. And I says, well, what's the fucking difference between harmonics and Walmart? You see what I'm trying to tell you?
Yeah.
But ultimately, this is why when it goes back to Warren Buffett, says never get into a business that you don't understand 80%. Because you would be screwed. Yeah. Imagine if you hired a bunch of bricklaying guys and you didn't know how to run them, you go bankrupt.
Oh, yeah,
or the walls would be screwed, right? It's because I apply that knowledge. But it's like, holy shit, when you come from a town like me and you want to do something, you're doing everything. You're being the bricks assistant, you're laying stucco, you're the part-time framer, you're hauling shit, you're cleaning it. And it's so freaking awesome to learn that. And that's where it goes. Those are jobs. I'm not going to fucking do those jobs. But you can learn the knowledge you can learn from those jobs. Well, you don't want to. You know, I tell people this. The best thing that my dad did to me was kick my ass out and send me to fucking construction. I was being a smart ass. So he says, okay, you little fucker. I'm not going to pay your fucking car. So let me see what you can do. And I was like, oh, fuck, I was all freaked out. Well, I had a lot of ego, right? I'm like, I can't go back to high school without my Camaro. So I said, man, maybe he'll, he didn't let up. He says, you want to be a fucking smart ass? Get out there. So he gets me a job in Los Alamos. I went to work for SG Western. And I'm out there in the brutal sun doing riprap. But check this out, right? I learned how to level dirt. I learned about riprap. I learned about walls. I learned about concrete. I learned about pavement. And I learned that that's not the fucking work I want to do for a lifetime. That was the biggest lesson. But from that job, I learned 6 valuable lessons that you can't put a dollar value on. So sometimes you got to go through a bunch of jobs to understand what you don't want to do or what's going to be able to benefit you in the future.
Yeah, and I think the number 6 is the biggest thing. I saw somebody working today, and I'm like, that person probably never thought that right there. You know, this isn't the job that I want to fucking do forever. You know, yeah.
Because this is what it is. You always got to talk. You know, that I saw. It says, never fear the fucking young soldier. Fear an old soldier. Because you know he's never faced death. So that dude's fucking doing something right. But there's very few of those. So I call those are they're warm. They just love it. You know, that's what it is. They're killing machines. So as a young man, and this is what I'm trying to, so I want to kind of segue and end with this for our listeners. Your fucking 20s is everything. I started in my teens. So if you didn't listen to any of this podcast and you listen to this last piece, your 20s is the most crucial piece of your entire life. Because I'm going to tell you right now, the work that you pull now is going to show your dividends in your 30s and your 40s, but could ultimately show the living fucking hell you're going to live in your 50s, 60s, and 70s. So what you do now either sets you up to live a life. And people say, well, you know, there's those stories like Colonel Sanders. And okay, well, fucking, I'm not going to bet on that. Because this is the story, right? If you're 40 years old and you're not fit, and you're out there and you're falling apart, do you think you're going to be able to lay brick with the 20-year-old?
No.
You're going to get your ass kicked. So what I'm saying now is you get out there and you bricklay or whatever the hell it's going to do, so you realize and you experiment everything now in your 20s, and you work your ass off and you don't take your pedal off the fucking, like my old saying says, all pedal, no brakes. There is no fucking thing. So in your 20s, there is no fucking relationships. You're fucking wasting your fucking time. Work your ass off so that you can live your life the way you want. Dude, I was financially free at the age of 25, extremely, but I had no time. If I sit here and bullshit you and say I had time, 0 time. Working 12 hours a fucking day, minimum. 29, I let off the pedal, and I was able to kind of get from water and get myself back into place. Well, what I'm telling you here ultimately is you gotta put that work in. I don't give a shit what it is. But right now, if your mind is, I'm tired or this, or, you know, I want to hang with my friend, you're wasting your fucking time. And I wish somebody would tell me why it's so important, like what you're saying is, academically, if you're in school and you can't figure out, to get those fucking A's, because what that does is opens up the scholarship so that you're not in debt and you have to pay this. So if you work hard in high school and you know you're going to go to college and that's what you want to do and you get the full ride scholarship, well, you have no debt. You see how you make those decisions and your life just becomes easier? Mm-hmm. And the funny part is when I graduated college, I was making money. I actually went out with money because the loans and the scholarships they gave me, Intel was writing me checks. Mm. So that's what I'm talking about. But you have to put that work in, and there's just we go back to what I said, podcast number 1. There's no substitution for hard work and dedication. And I'm going to tell you one of your biggest fucking lessons. Excuses are not warranted. Your bosses don't give a shit about excuses. The bank doesn't give a shit about an excuse. And you can make all the excuses to yourself, but when you're sitting there and you're swimming in failure, don't sit there and say, why me? Like I told you, you don't get fat overnight. You don't get fat by eating 15 fucked up meals. You don't get fat by eating 20 fucked up meals. Yeah. You get fat because you eat 100 meals. Mm-hmm. Right? 100 meals. You don't go broke. When broke, you could make a fucked up decision. Like the one fucked up decision, and you're going to go broke, right? That one's pretty major. but it's not 50 small decisions that got you broke. So what I'm saying, you see what I'm trying to tell you, get to that in the forgiving. And so what I'm saying is that it's all those choices we do, it's what's really going to take us there, period. You guys got anything to add to that?
It's a good one to end on.
Good one. Very good.
Listeners, I hope you know what, you're getting this. You know, our whole goal is that you're actually listening to this shit and you're going to get to there. Look, at the end of the day, take it from somewhere, been there, done that, got the t-shirt. I'm in success. I'm sitting here because I want to see you successful. But I'm going to tell you right now, I'm here to break it to you, the truth. It's not fucking easy. It's grit. Number one, if you got the grit, you're going to do it. The dumbest guy that does the one thing over and over again, he ain't going to suffer. But if you're a know-it-all and you have no grit, all you're going to be is a broke know-it-all, period. So remember this. What did I tell you a job stands for? Just above broke, period. So at the end of the day, bust your ass now or you will pay later. I promise you. And for me, it doesn't matter. You do make your own choice. So hope you got something out of it. We'll see you guys next week.
See you guys.